You ever wonder what would happen if a medieval empire was suddenly dragged into the modern world? It's a crazy idea, but that's exactly what happened when Peter the Great took the throne of Russia in 1682. Born in 1672, Peter I wasn't your typical ruler. While other nobles hunted and drank, Peter was curious, restless, and determined to transform his vast but backward empire into a modern, powerful state. At age 10, Peter became Tsar with his brother Ivan, but he was more interested in ships than strategy. Secretly working in European shipyards, he learned modern shipbuilding and military techniques. Inspired by what he saw, Peter returned to Russia with a bold vision. He wanted to modernize his country and make it a great power. The problem was, Russia was stuck in the Middle Ages, while Western Europe was becoming modern. Peter's dream seemed impossible. Despite the odds, Peter began to reform the Russian army. He created a standing army based on European models, reorganized government, modernized the economy, and forced the nobility to adopt Western dress and customs. This was a big deal because the Russian nobility had a lot of power. They also had really long beards. Peter didn't like that so much that he cut off many of them himself, even though his wife and some courtiers thought this was pretty funny. Peter was serious about modernization. He wanted Russia to become a strong naval power, but Russia was landlocked, far from the sea. Undeterred, Peter set out to change that. In 1700, he declared war on the Swedish Empire to gain access to the Baltic Sea. After 8 years of fighting, he won. Peter's victory was a turning point in Russian history. It opened the door to trade, influence, and power on the world stage. To manage his new lands and protect his Baltic holdings, Peter founded the city of St. Petersburg in 1703. He chose a location near the Gulf of Finland, about 40 miles from the Swedish capital of Finland. The site was a swamp, but Peter was undeterred. He brought in architects and engineers to design and build his new capital on the banks of the Neva River. Peter called it his window to Europe, and it quickly became Russia's new capital. The city was a symbol of Peter's vision for a modern empire. Peter's dream was to make Russia a great power like France or Britain, but to do that, he needed to modernize his country. First, he needed allies, so Peter traveled to Europe to meet with leaders there. He visited the Dutch Republic, which was a major naval power at the time, and they became allies. Then Peter visited England, where he met with King Charles II and secured an alliance. Finally, Peter visited Prussia and met with King Frederick I. Together, they signed a treaty of perpetual friendship. These alliances were crucial to Peter's plans to modernize Russia. With his allies in place, Peter turned his attention back home. He continued to reform the army, making it larger and more efficient. He also introduced new weapons and tactics. In 1709, the Russian army defeated the Swedes near the city of Poltava. It was a decisive victory that showed the strength of Peter's reforms. But Peter's rule was not all glorious victories. He faced rebellions both at home and abroad. In 1708, the Cossacks rebelled against his rule, but Peter crushed the uprising and punished the leaders. The same year, the Great Northern War was raging, and Peter was forced to flee to Holland for a time. Despite these setbacks, Peter's dream never wavered. He continued to push for modernization and reform, knowing that they were crucial to Russia's future. When Peter died in 1725, he left behind not just a stronger empire, but a legacy of ambition and modernization that shaped Russia for centuries. If you want to know more about Peter the Great, stay tuned for more videos.